Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the first of a series of Chambly Chamber webinars. Today we are going to talk about social marketing. The idea behind this series of webinars is to sort of help educate our businesses on a variety of different topics. We'll go through all kinds of topics in the coming months. If you have any ideas for topics that you'd like to learn about, it doesn't matter what kind of business you are, whether you're a retail brick and mortar store or an independent financial planner like myself. Let me give you a little quick background of who I am. If you have not heard of me before, my name is Van Pappas. I'm a certified financial planner with Oxygen Financial. I'm a private CFO. Our firm has 14 different financial planners in our firm and 12 additional support staff, and collectively we're managing just under $1 billion in assets under management. And I am one of the original founding members of the Chambly Chamber, so I created this webinar mainly with the intent to help our Chambly businesses and our Chambly Chamber members. So we will go through a variety of topics. Like I said a second ago, today will be on social marketing. I like an old Chinese proverb that I've used for a long time that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. As a financial planner, obviously, planning is important, whether it's your personal finances or your business finances. Whatever it is, planning is hugely important. And if you didn't do it 20 years ago, that's okay. The next best time to start your planning is right now, today. So keep that old Chinese proverb in the back of your mind as you start planning various things around your business. So today we live in a time that really is huge with the internet. If you are not staying relevant and up to date on what's going on with various technologies, you're going to get left behind. So I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about where we've come from and what it takes to really get to a lot of customers, a lot of users. Here's a neat little graphic that I created, how long it took to get to 50 million users. It's amazing that it took 75 years for people to start using the telephone. 50 million people start using the telephone. If you go down the list, you notice at the very bottom, just a couple of years ago when Pokemon Go came out, it took 19 days for 50 million people to use Pokemon Go. So as you can see, it's getting faster and faster, and technology is getting quicker and quicker, and we've got to, as business owners, stay up to date. YouTube is huge in that endeavor and staying up to date. Most people don't realize YouTube is actually the #1 search website on the internet. More people use YouTube to search things up. I'll tell you, my 12-year-old searches things all the time. He learned how to play the guitar searching videos on YouTube. I've used YouTube to search on how to fix toilets and everything else. But I also use it for my business. Creating videos for your business is hugely important. That's what people are leaning towards, is video. Text and emails are quickly getting left behind. It's interesting that how much video is being uploaded to YouTube. 1 hour of video upload every single second. Boom, right there. There's an hour that just went by. Facebook obviously is hugely important. Everyone knows about Facebook. It's been around for 15 years now. What you may not know is there are currently 2.2 billion active monthly users. That's not just users. That's people who actually go on at least once a month and do something on Facebook. If you don't like Facebook, that's fine. You have the right to not like Facebook, but you've got to be on it. Your customers are on it. If you are not on there regularly, you are not relevant as far as the way our world is moving. 1.4 billion daily active users. That is just amazing. You know, if Facebook were a country, it'd be the second largest country in the world, only behind China. That is a lot of people. It's 5.5 times bigger than the amount of our population here in the US. We have something like 300 million people in the US, 5.5 times bigger. If you don't have a Facebook page for your business, you need to get one. If you don't want to do it personally, completely understand, but you've got to be seen. Being seen is how you're going to drive more business to your, more customers to your business. Now, email, a lot of people use email campaigns. I will tell you, I'm the first to have an email list that I send out, a weekly email every Sunday night. And, there are all kinds of services, Constant Contact, MailChimp, whichever one you use. When you look at the analytics, it's pretty clear that email is dying out quickly. Now, there are a lot of email users, and there are a lot of emails sent. 225 billion emails are sent every single day, but more than half of those emails are treated as spam. You remember when we were growing up, you'd go to the the mailbox and get all the mail out, and there'd be all kinds of junk mail in there. You probably still get that. Most of that goes in the trash can. Well, it's the same thing with email. I'm not saying don't use an email campaign. If you've got customers and you want to reach out to them, it's a great way to reach out to them. But as far as prospecting and driving more business, email is fastly getting left behind. What's taken its place is really text. Text are hugely more important than emails because they're opened all the time. In fact, just in really about a 4-year period from 2014 to 2018, the amount of text messages sent per day went from 8.5 billion to 18 billion. It more than doubled in a 4-year period. That goes back to that original slide where we saw how quickly people were getting to 50 million users. Well, we're there. We're 18 billion texts per day last year. What's great about text, though, is that not only are the majority of Americans texting, everyone has a smartphone in their pocket, but the open rate is so much better than an email. You're seeing about a 98% open rate on texts over emails. So if you're going to spend some time and energy crafting a prospect list, try to do one through text. In one of our future webinars, we'll do a deeper dive into text and some services you can use to drive engagement with your customers and with your prospects. But as you can see, 20% is the open rate for email, and I think that's probably even high. My MailChimp campaigns every Sunday, usually you get less than a 10% open rate and only about a 3% click-through rate. But what's even more staggering as the open rate is the fact that 95% of all text messages are read in under 3 minutes. People are opening the text and they're reading it instantly. And you don't get that same kind of quickness with an email. Sometimes it could take hours before someone sees your email. They may not see it for days if it gets buried in their inbox. I threw this slide in there, even though it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your business or with social marketing. I thought it was interesting in how quickly our society is changing and how we behave online. 2005, 1 out of every 8 couples married in the US had met online. Meeting at bars or meeting at your church just doesn't seem to be doing anymore. People are meeting online, and that number, 1 out of 8, has dropped to 1 out of 3 in 2013. I couldn't get anything current for today, but I'm sure it's continuing to be more and more couples are meeting online. So here's what we're going to talk about today for the rest of our webinar. We're going to talk about the big 3, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Google Business. Now, there's all kinds of social media and social marketing that we can look at, but these are what I deem as the big three. And in future months, we may take one of these and do some deeper dives in it. But let's look at LinkedIn and driving connections to LinkedIn. If you are listening to the webinar and you have a LinkedIn account, you might want to look and see how many connections you have. And if you're sitting on, 80 or 100 connections, then you're really not effectively using LinkedIn. More people you can connect with, the better. Now, if you've used LinkedIn, you know when you go and view someone's profile, you can click the connect button and it will generate an automated response. It's sort of a canned message that LinkedIn has. Don't use that. Come up with your own personalized message. If you want people to connect with you, you have to give them a reason and make them feel like you actually did more than just click on a button and ask them to connect. 99% of people, though, just use those automated messages in LinkedIn. And my response to you is don't do it. Make it personalized. It'll take a little more time, but there are some services that we can talk about when we do a deeper dive into LinkedIn. If you use Google Chrome as your web browser, they have a lot of extensions you can add on. One that I like that I've added on to mine is DuckSoup. Now, DuckSoup has a free version, but there's also a paid version that's a little more has a lot more features. But DuckSoup allows you to sort of automate the process of viewing people's LinkedIn profiles, so you might want to check that out. And try to have some kind of call to action when you connect to someone. I know some of you might be, retail shops, you have a brick and mortar store. Some of you may be like me where you're self-employed or independent professional. For me, with financial planning, I've written a number of ebooks, and I send those ebooks in my connection request with a call to action for them to go to my website. So come up with a script that you can put into your connection request. We'll go into how you can automate that in a future webinar. Facebook, here's your tip number one for Facebook. Video killed the radio star. We're not talking about the 1980s song. We're talking about how video is becoming so important. We mentioned YouTube earlier in the webcast. It is very important to drive your engagement on Facebook with video and on a regular basis. So my first recommendation is post daily. It doesn't have to be something fancy. You don't have to think up a lot of stuff, but make it regular. You want to be relevant. And if you're not seen, I've got thousands of people in my friend list. When I make a post, if I just make one post and don't post for a week, I'm not going to show up on their feed. And with all the thousands of people that I am connected with, a lot of them don't show up on my feed. So you've got to post daily, and you've got to get them to engage in that post. Maybe take a video of your retail store if you're a retailer, but make some videos to get the viewers to get to know you better. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need professional video recording equipment. Hell, sometimes I make a video just using my smartphone. But be consistent about it and make sure it's informative. You want to inform them about your business and what you do, but you want to make it entertaining. You don't want it to be dry and stale where they're just listening to you droll on about, I'm a financial planner and I can do X, Y, and Z. You want to make it entertaining and fun for them to listen. Otherwise, they're going to turn it off, and it needs to be short. 5-minute videos just aren't going to, no one's going to watch a 5-minute video. Google search, creating a Google business profile. I think this is hugely important. If you don't have a Google profile for your business, you need to get one. You need to get your address linked, whether you have an actual brick and mortar store or wherever your office is. You need to get that linked. And you can do so much more, like adding images so that people can see where you work. In fact, let me take a second. I'm going to break from this and let me show you an example This is Google search for Oxygen Financial, and we have two offices, one in Buckhead and one out in Alpharetta, and we've uploaded some pictures to our Google, so when someone searches us, they can actually see, what our office looks like, various pictures. But one of the things that we're going to do at a future webinar is show you how you can make these 365 view videos. If you've never seen one of these, it's really cool. You basically can take a tour of our office using this, and it's not just 365 there. It can move forward, and we can walk through and do a tour of our office. If we want to see one of these meeting rooms here, we can just scroll in, and the customer or client can scroll in and see what the meeting rooms look like. This is all basically with Google's 365 or 360 Street View option. You're able to go through and basically walk through the office. The other thing I would say about Google and Google searches is, let me show you what my Google profile looks like. When you do a Google search for van, the first thing you want to look at, I would say as soon as you get off this webinar, go search the your business or your name and see what comes up. As you can see here, a lot of what comes up is links for me. A lot of people don't realize that Google will have pages and pages of search, but you know what? No one, I mean no one, goes past the first page. If you're not seeing yourself come up here at the beginning, then we got some work to do. We can do a more intense one-on-one to try to get you more relevant. And here's my Google business profile where you can see my address of my office. If you want to make an appointment, my landing page, as well as, I had mentioned earlier in the webinar about being relevant and posting often. Well, one of the things that Google does is you can actually post articles here. You can see these are articles that I wrote that I posted on my profile, so that when someone looks me up, they don't have to necessarily go to my website to read these articles I've written. So let's get back into... So that's what I meant as far as making regular posts, just like any other social media site. You want to do that regularly and often. We're pretty much at the end of today's webinar. These webinars are going to be usually only about 20 to 30 minutes, but I've been thinking about various other topics that we would go over, doing things like a deep dive into LinkedIn, but not just on social media stuff or social stuff. I wanted to talk to you all about things for your business. I get a lot of questions from time to time about people who've had a business a long time, they're ready to retire, and then they don't know what to do with their business. They don't know how it's valued. There are various resources we can do to get that valuation and have conversations about how we legacy out our business. Do we pass it on to our kids? Do we sell it? Do we have an employee that we promote and make them in charge? And we'll also on these webinars bring in some guests from time to time. Thinking that we'll bring on a lawyer for one to talk about things you need to do for your business to protect it from a legal standpoint. Maybe we'll bring in a real estate agent to talk about what the value of your brick and mortar store is worth if you own the property, or whether you should buy it or not buy it. But I also want to hear from you as to what you want to see in these webinars. We'll do these once a month. So if you have a topic you want to hear from, just reach out to me. You can reach me at vpappas@oxygenfinancial.net and let me know. And thank you so much for listening to this first of a series of Chamblee Chamber webinars. I hope you have a great day.